The evil murderer who took Charlie from us expected us to have a funeral today, and instead, my friends, we have had a revival in celebration of Charlie Kirk and of his Lord Jesus Christ.
Now, the memorial service yesterday in Arizona was widely described as very much a church service, as an evangelical gathering, perhaps the largest in the history of the country. And with the organizers saying that they had 100 million computers streaming the event, plus on cable, not on CNN or MS-13, DNC. They were too busy sacrificing children and harvesting their organs like the ghastly ghouls that they are. But if you're looking at 100 million streams going out there, my friend Bill Marshall, a smart investigator guy, said, 100 million streaming is probably more like 200 million watching. And he said, Kathy and I watched, as did my sister and her husband in Florida. So you got 2 on this stream and 2 on that stream, right? It's not like taking a phone call. I watched it with my best girl. Now, we had it on the television, on the Jumbotron at home, the big screen and all that. But, man, oh, man. But that's absolutely right. So if you're talking about 100 million streams going out, showing the event, you're likely talking about at least 2 people on each stream. Would that be right? I'm not sure how the streaming numbers, but, our humble radio broadcast gets 500 million streaming. We don't really, a day. We don't, not really, I'm just embellishing. But it's true when you have people streaming your radio show, for example, there may be more than one person listening to that stream. And certainly with the events yesterday, the Charlie Kirk Memorial, that you had 100 million streams going out. It's more than 100 million isolated individuals watching alone, one at a time. Now, with that said, let's go back to our audio, the audio of the events from yesterday. And Erica Kirk, who on the last soundbite we played, she said that she forgives the assassin, who is, of course, in custody and is the bad guy. And he was raised by a nice family. And, the Democrats, they his father he's a Republican, therefore he's a MAGA Republican, just like Jimmy Kimmel. Because if a Democrat is making noise, a Democrat is probably lying about something. Aren't they amazing? But Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, was there, and she owned the stadium. And she again declared that I forgive the assassin of her young husband, 31 years old, and the father of her 2 young children, their 2 young children, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, a little boy and a little girl. Erica Kirk.
I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
Now, she was very powerful and from time to time emotional and understandably, and addressing a live audience of 73,000 people inside the arena, many tens of thousands more outside at the arena, a second arena across the street from the stadium where professional football games are played. Remarkable things. And Erica Kirk is taking over where Charlie Kirk left off.
After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival.
Revival, not revolution. No rioting, no violence. The Democrat Party is, of course, always inclined toward rioting and violence, and she's talking about love being the most important value, and the answer to hate is not more hate. And when her husband was assassinated, you didn't see conservatives in America riot and loot and firebomb and terrorize, as we always see from the Democrat Party. And Erica Kirk on her now deceased husband.
He left this world without regrets. He did 100% of what he could every day. But I want you to know something. Charlie died with incomplete work, but not with unfinished business. Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory.
I've got to say, I believe that sometimes we don't have a lot of circumstances like this one, but sometimes you hear a lot of overblown rhetoric about we're going to do this and we're going to do that. I don't think the rhetoric is overblown in this case. I think that this is really striking a chord with a great many tens of millions of Americans and possibly even hundreds of millions of Americans. And I think a big part of what we're witnessing now is the left being revealed as the bloodthirsty ghouls and frauds and charlatans and liars that they are, not well adjusted to a modern civilized culture and society. The left is a violent, dangerous mob, and they're bringing with them the sensibilities of Chinese communism and Vladimir Putin Russian communism and totalitarianism that you see in Cuba and Venezuela and beyond. The left is here, and they call themselves the Democrat Party. Remember, just as they say in the military, friendly fire isn't, the Democratic Party isn't. Common courtesy isn't. Common sense isn't. There are a few more also on the friendly fire isn't roster. Let's go to the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, who was there, and I got to say, Erica was wonderful, just extraordinary. And Charlie Kirk was 31 years old when he was assassinated by a Democrat for not being a Democrat. And Erica Kirk is apparently 36 years old, 5 years older than her now late husband, according at least to the National Panhandler system suckling on the taxpayer teat. And keep in mind that Chuck Schumer he's going to shut the government down unless NPR gets their hundreds of millions of dollars back. And then they tell us, we don't get anything from the taxpayer because they lie about everything. But J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, he was there. And I got to tell you, he is a great public speaker, a very powerful, very steady public speaker. I think he's very, I don't like this word in politics, talented when it comes to the skills and the talents that you look for in a capable political leader in the United States. J.D. Vance.
The evil murderer who took Charlie from us expected us to have a funeral today, and instead, my friends, we have had a revival in celebration of Charlie Kirk and of his Lord Jesus Christ.
Charlie Kirk, not the evil murderer, but a revival. And it really was a very religious, and there are people complaining online because the left is mentally ill and they're anti-God, dog is their co-pilot and all that stuff. And they're complaining during, this is like a church service. Yeah, it's a memorial service. No church was big enough for the people that wanted to attend, and they're mourning and I always try to avoid this word in this context too, celebrating, but it's true, celebrating the life of a relevant, significant young man who did great things with his life. And then a Democrat showed up with a rifle because he's been raised and weaned on the Democrat Party's bile. J.D. Vance.
Charlie Kirk built a movement. He transformed the face of conservatism in our own time, and in doing so, he changed the course of American history.
Changed the course of American history. And I've got to say, there are all kinds of reports and polls, kind of instant polls and so on, about Gen Z's response. And apparently Gen Z, and I haven't even done my full research on this yet, but apparently young men in Gen Z are fleeing the Democrat Party like it's been firebombed because, they're recognizing what's going on with the Democrat Party, and maybe common sense will win the day in the end. That would be really nice. Gen Z men born between 1997 and 2012, now between the ages of 13 and 28. And there is the headline 5 hours ago, new data shows Gen Z young men trending toward the GOP. And this is left-wing media. They're in a panic about it because their gender dysphoria has been displaced by a little dose of reality. New data shows Gen Z young men trending toward GOP. That's MS-13 DNC. So you can see they're having a panic about it. They're not celebrating that, are they? Isn't that amazing? Democrats. But The Hill also reporting Gen Z voter data shows warning shots for Democrats. Warning for Democrats. Yeah, because young men are waking up. Now, I got to look. I was a young man. I was raised in a Democrat Party household, and Ronald Reagan came along, and they vilified and demonized Ronald Reagan, and he was the bad guy to beat all bad guys, and it was going to lead to nuclear war, and it was the end of everything, the Constitution, because the radical left, they've been killing people and lying for a long, long time. And my eyes were opened because of Ronald Reagan. And it happens from time to time. And this is a moment in American political history, I've got to say, where a lot of eyes ought to be opened. And I would expect to see that a lot of young people will have their eyes opened based on what's going on around us and around them. Data showing Generation Z men trending toward GOP is sparking debate among Democrats over how to win back a key block of voters that could prove critical for the party ahead of 2026. You know that we're going to have midterm elections next year. So it seems like it's 10 years away right now. But so a report from Decision Desk HQ. It's the Decision Desk HQ. That's the people that do the polls. They say released this week suggested that Gen Z appears to be charting a different political course than millennials, and noted that multiple indicators point to substantial Republican gains among Gen Z. In particular, the report noted that Democratic registration among young men has shrunk compared with that among young women, while some experts note that registration trends don't take into account changing attitudes among demographics between elections. The report nonetheless provided further warning signs for Democrats as Gen Z men increasingly age into the voting electorate. A Democrat Party should no longer exist in a decent and civilized world. Got more on the Democrats coming up, as you might expect. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier has finally arrived, and the third generation builds on the incredible success of the previous two generations, and those earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet, an instant bestseller. The new Thunderstorm uses two Unique technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air that you breathe at home. Also removes dust and pet dander and smoke and a whole lot more from the air. And you don't have to buy filters over and over again to replace, which is very helpful and convenient. The thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell guaranteed. Talking about kitty litter boxes and trash cans and cigarette smoke and liberal protesters. No match for the Eden Pure thunderstorm. And right now, because you know me, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You get 3 devices. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big, you know. Put one in your basement, your teenager's room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. The kitchen. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. All right. My, how the time flies. Come in here and my day just fly by. It just flies by. Does that happen to you? Okay, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Tom, calling from Prince George's County in Maryland. Thomas, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
How you doing, Chris? Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Hey, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. First of all, what the heck was the Democrats saying when Tucker Carlson got banned from Fox?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to ABC and Jimmy Kimmel, they all cheered and applauded when Tucker Carlson was banned because they're totalitarian in their orientation, aren't they?
They are. And the other thing I had was, it's funny how Obama wanted to cancel Fox when he was president, but yet, you know, they're complaining about what was being said via Trump or the FCC.
Well, and also President Trump was banned from Twitter, and the Democrat FBI was on the horn with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook about banning Republican speech, conservative speech, and Donald Trump, and they're abusing the FBI. And I still want to get back to the Tom Homan thing because the FBI under Joe Biden ambushing, setting up friends of Trump, including Tom Homan, and they tried to set him up with a drop. Here's a bag of cash, and we want to. So the FBI under Joe Biden was setting up Tom Homan. Look, the IRS was used under Barack Obama against Tea Party groups and patriot groups. If they had those words, then they were targeted by the FBI. These people are crooks. Now, more from the memorial service in Arizona yesterday. Everybody was there. It was amazing. And I got to tell you, Donald Trump Jr. was there. That'd be the son of Donald Trump, the president of the United States. And I got to say, and it was a big, long memorial service. And memorial services, you might work in a joke here, a little humor here and there. I've done that in the past. Eulogizing people, but here's Donald Trump Jr. yesterday when he stepped up, and I'm like, here's Jr. Listen to him, and he started out. I think he was very strong the whole time, but he started out very strong.
I'm not widely known for being a sentimental guy. Anyone who's seen me on social media knows I'm far more likely to crack a joke or get myself in trouble for posting some grossly inappropriate memes than I am to shed a tear. I know this because I've even gotten the call from that guy a couple times.
Trump, father.
You know, Don.
Impersonation.
You're getting a little aggressive on social media, Don. Relax.
Cut away to Trump. Trump was making faces. President Trump was making faces. Don Trump Jr. is doing faces. He's impersonating his father with his hands. and saying he doing his impersonation of his father, which I don't think we've ever seen before. And it was quite remarkable and interesting and sort of fun and lighthearted. And President Trump was upstairs behind more bulletproof glass. Don Jr. was downstairs behind bulletproof glass. And President Trump was in good humor about the whole thing. He's like, yeah, and he's acknowledging, say, yeah, I've called him, told him to calm down, the grossly inappropriate social media stuff, good things. And then he had another funny joke about Charlie Kirk knowing the Bible, and he knows the Bible better than some other people. That it was a funny line. I laughed out loud. I made a note immediately so that I could share it with you here today.
To say Charlie knew more about the Bible than me is an understatement, folks. It's like saying Donald Trump knows more about being president than Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris. No kidding.
No kidding. Now that was funny, and I honestly, when it comes to Hillary Clinton and to a lesser extent, but to some extent Kamala Harris, you can't be rude enough to these people and with these people because of what they're doing tragically and terribly to our country. But funny stuff. Saying Charlie Kirk knew more about the Bible than me is like saying that President Trump knows more about being president than Hillary Clinton, who President Trump defeated in his first successful presidential election, and then Kamala Harris, who President Trump defeated in his second successful presidential contest, although it was his third presidential contest. Joe Biden shattered all land speed records with the number of votes that he got, because Democrats didn't come out to vote for Hillary and they didn't come out to vote for Barack Obama in the way they came out to vote for a crusty old white guy dragging his beach chair along the sand. But the racist, sexist Democrats didn't show up to vote for Hillary, didn't show up to vote for Kamala, didn't show up to vote for Barack Obama, but boy, they showed up to vote for Joe Biden. Nobody seems to think that's very interesting. I know a lot of you do. But nobody at the New York Times or at CNN thinks it's very interesting. All right, now let's go to, because the wonderful Tulsi Gabbard was there as well. She was a Democrat member of the House of Representatives just a few years ago. Now she's not. Now she is a cabinet secretary in the administration of Donald John Trump. Isn't that amazing? And Tulsi Gabbard was there yesterday.
Charlie lived his life as a warrior for truth and for freedom, every single day choosing to step into the arena armed with the Constitution, sparring through debate on the battlefield of ideas, fighting for the heart of our democratic republic.
Fighting for the heart of our democratic republic. But no, wait, but I saw this morning. In fact, we were just talking about it during one of the breaks a few minutes ago, that the Democrats, Donald Trump, you have to defeat Donald Trump to save our democracy. They love these apocalyptic terror shows that they put on. It's all theater, of course. But if anybody's a threat to our democracy and to our constitutional republic, it's the left. And they've been hell-bent on destroying the United States for generations now. But now they own the Democratic Party. So now the country really is in a tough spot. And now let's go to our dim-witted Democrat media friends, because Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she was all over the place yesterday, and she's out there being a racist because she's a terrible, horrible racist. She is, and she's a private school girl who can speak English very eloquently when she decides to, but then she slips into the, Democrat keeping it real, ghettoizing our American politics, turning it into a third world proposition. And Democrat Texas, believe it or not, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett likened assassinated Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk to a Confederate on Sunday as she attempted to justify voting against a resolution in the House of Representatives honoring Charlie Kirk after he was assassinated. Now, she was on with Dana Bash, who is a Democrat all the way, with from her first cigarette to her last dying day. She, like the Sharks, and or the Jets. Which one was that? It was the Jets. It was the Jets. When you're a Jet all the way. from your first cigarette to your last dying day. Same thing with the Democrat Party. Here's Dana Bash with her close personal friend, the really demented, racist, leftist, hate-filled, divisive, expletive deleted in the House of Representatives, Jasmine Crockett, and her pal Dana Bash.
A resolution that came before the House this past week honoring Charlie Kirk. And there were 58 Democrats who voted against it. You were one.
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely. You know what? One of the things I do want to point out that's not been laid out that honestly hurts my heart is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was, specifically to us.
Racist. Now, she does immediately the racial breakdown, the racist breakdown. She was very angry, and it was and Dana Bash didn't tell the whole story. It was 58 Democrats voted against honoring Charlie Kirk, who had just been shot through the throat and assassinated, while he's inviting everybody that disagrees with him to come to the front of the line, and he's smiling, and he's talking about God and Jesus and the Bible and America and the Constitution, and the Democrats assassinated him. And then 58 Democrats voted against the resolution to honor Charlie Kirk and his life, and I believe another 23 voted present, and then another more than a dozen didn't vote at all. So I think we had about 100 Democrats that did not vote to honor Charlie Kirk. And she said, oh, yeah, he targeted, it's all about the racist. I actually went after this was going on yesterday. I started doing my research, and I went and found Charlie Kirk talking about black airline pilots when airlines were saying, oh, yeah, we're our DEI department will decide who we're going to hire and who we're going to promote. So you get on an airplane, and this ruins life for black pilots. If you're an airline pilot and your company says, oh, yeah, we hire and promote people based on their race, based on the color of their skin. Then you get on a commercial airliner and you see the black pilot getting on board. And this is what the Democrats have done to the black pilot. They've created a situation where the black pilot is now believed to be held to a lower standard, but still has hundreds of souls on board, hundreds of human lives in, I'm going to say his hands. There could be her hands also. Give me an old career Air Force pilot who learned to fly big multi-engine Air Force planes and make him an airline pilot. But if you're, and he said, so, and they're talking about it in context, saying, well, if you got DEI and affirmative action for airline pilots, are you getting the most qualified airline pilots? It's one thing when it's somebody in a job at a tire store. It's different when it's somebody flying an airplane full of lives and your grandchildren and, your kids with their babies and all of that. And they all voted against it. And she tried to racialize and racially divide and splinter because that's what she does, because she's a dedicated and devout racist. And her name is Jasmine Crockett. And she's a Democrat member of the House of Representatives, and her district should be gerrymandered out of existence in Texas now that the Republicans are looking at that, just as the Democrats do in Illinois and in New Jersey and in Maryland and in California and every place that they can. But never mind all that. Jasmine Crockett with Dana Bash, and Dana Bash doesn't call her on it. She calls her on one little thing a little bit, but doesn't call her on it. Well, wait a minute. You do the racial, only 2 Caucasians voted for it? And that's how, wow, isn't that amazing? Kind of, you should put your black pointed hood on.
I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast.
Passing away.
I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff, especially as a civil rights attorney.
He didn't. I went and found that videotape of the podcast, and I watched it. It was a 15-minute video that I watched and covered this territory. And a month ago on a podcast, Charlie Kirk, talking about a whole broad range of things with other people. including affirmative action, how detrimental it is to just use black airline pilots as one example. Because now you're a black airline pilot, you worked your whole life to get there, you're an Air Force pilot, and then you get to there. But your company announces, oh, yeah, we're hiring and promoting people based on their race. Kind of takes away a lot of the, cachet that you've earned by being an Air Force pilot and so on. Charlie Kirk from the aforementioned podcast.
Men out there, do not marry women like Jasmine Crockett. Okay? Just that whole thing, just stay away. The whole ensemble, whiny, yammering, the whole way she presents herself, smug, terrible, nasty, cruel, wrong, dumb, the whole operation, young men, better for you to become a Catholic priest. I'm just going to tell you right now, avoid that entire freight train because it is a-coming.
I've got to say, he had played a soundbite of Jasmine Crockett stirring the racist pot once again. Played a soundbite of her, then played a soundbite of another Democrat member of Congress who's also an African-American woman. And then Democrats, they only care about African-American women, being a member of Congress because of their race and their genitalia. And then when they get into office, they say, well, you can't be critical of anything they say. Now they're bulletproof. So unlike so many Republicans who have proven to not be bulletproof when the Democrats shoot them. But the racist stuff, I'll keep it clean, that Jasmine Crockett was peddling, and Charlie Kirk had just played the soundbite of her and then this other racist Democrat woman who probably shouldn't be in these jobs. And now, they got AOC is going to run for president or the Senate. I haven't decided yet because, and just amazing. Charlie Kirk, again, the podcast, and this has got Jasmine Crockett really upset.
But this whole thing she's got going here. And apparently we're all Anglos now.
That's right.
Okay, I guess it's a badge of honor. I don't know. She calls it. There's no longer white. You see, they're trying to change their vocabulary. It's no longer white majority. We're Anglo majorities.
True.
Okay. Yeah, I am a WASP. What are you going to do about it, Jasmine Crockett? Does that make me bad? Does that make me racist?
See, well, everybody's racist if you're not her. Just amazing stuff. And Jasmine Crockett, and it's true, she switched because they got to make everything freshen their lexicon from time to time. Jasmine Crockett, and again, his memorial service is ongoing, and this is Jasmine Crockett talking about the man that was assassinated by a Democrat for his political views and his religious beliefs.
So to me, just like we wanted to make sure that those Confederate relics were taken down, the idea of a new age relic being propped up was something that I just could not subscribe to.
She couldn't subscribe to that. See, another private Catholic school coming out in her vocabulary there. But the Confederacy was the Democrat Party, and Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederate States of America, was the Democrat in the Civil War. And then Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president ever, freed the slaves and ended the Confederate States of America, which was the Democrat country. And then he was murdered by a Democrat who shot him in the head at a theater in Washington. From handcrafted beautiful steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. We love our Omaha Steaks. We have them at home. And right now, during their Red Hot Sale event, you can get 50% off the entire Omaha Steaks website at omahasteaks.com because you and I hang out together. Plus, our listeners get another $35 off. That's you using the promo code PLANT at checkout. So it's 50% off plus $35 off using the code PLANT. There's nothing like getting a hankering for a steak dinner and remembering that you've got Omaha Steaks in the fridge there. My best girl and I, we love the Omaha Steaks. Filet mignon. We had them night before last or the night before with ridiculously good potatoes. Just great. We sear them up in my grandfather's iron skillet that's been in use for about 65 years. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and then hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. They also carry mouth-watering burgers and chicken and pork and seafood and delicious desserts, too. So get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event and get another $35 off when you use the code PLANT at checkout, P-L-A-N-T-E. There's an E on there. Nobody knows why. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and a $35 reduction in price with the promo code PLANT at checkout. See omahasteaks.com for details. Yeah. All right, great stuff. All right, we got a few minutes left and a lot of stuff to get to. Don't go anywhere. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's September. You know what they sing about the 21st night of September, which was last night. So last night was, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire night. Earth, Wind, and Fire Day, one of the great bands of all time, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Great stuff. I don't think they're racists like Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett on CNN yesterday with her pal Dana Bash, and Dana Bash said, hey, you've been spending a lot of time calling President Trump Hitler. You know, what about all that talk of dialing down the rhetoric?
I think that my responsibility is to be transparent and to be honest. And the reality is that we are living in a time in which this administration and this regime is not interested in making sure that people understand history. We need to understand why they are so problematic. And so I am using that language because it is accurate language.
Calling him Hitler is accurate language, but we're not teaching the people. What were you supposed to be teaching them? So the White House supposed to be teaching history? Is that it? The left-wing communist brand of history. Jasmine Crockett on calling Trump and everybody else Hitler.
When we see the consolidation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it. Like, these are the facts.
It's Kimmel. Apparently that's chilling free speech because ABC suspended a late-night talk show host for saying that a Trump MAGA person shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And I'm sorry, what is the centralization of power and trampling free speech? And Dana Bash say, well, give me an example of that. So what free speech? And, of course, it's all Jimmy Kimmel, who was suspended by ABC for making up a fatuous lie that the Soviet communists would consider to be too shameless to spread a lie like that, but not the Democrats.